I don't believe God really wants us to be ill. The way I came to terms with it was that my soul had lessons to learn that I couldn't learn any other way.
I'm Nicole Johnson. Today, there's a lot of scientific and popular interest in the connection between health and spirituality. Coming up, we'll hear from people inspired by their faith to find wellness in mind, body, and spirit. But first, can fervent prayer lead to healing? Some people reject the notion entirely. Others forego life-saving medical intervention because they think prayer alone will cure them. That's what San Diego cancer patient Jeanette Reimer did, until she learned that healing can come in unexpected ways.
Well, I experienced that scary moment when I discovered a lump in my breast, and it was total shock, as I'm sure it is with most people, but I had always been very, very healthy, never had anything wrong. I'd always been eaten well and exercised and done the right thing. So I was in denial. I thought, this is not happening to me. And also knew that I didn't have health insurance, and I wasn't concerned about it because I believed in the power of healing, and I believed in the power of God to heal me, and I didn't need doctors or anybody else. And so I once put that into practice and did positive affirmations and really believed that I would be healed. God would heal me. I knew God could heal me, and I went on that presumption for almost a year.
Jeanette's tumor wasn't going away. Then she heard that her church would be having a healing service.
I thought, maybe this is what God wants me to do, is going to this healing service.
Jeanette approached parish nurse Jean Wright Elson for anointing during the service.
They just said to whisper what your problem was, and I went forward and I said, I need a healing. She said, would you like to tell me the problem? I said, I have a lump in my breast.
Mentally, I assumed that she was having some sort of therapy for that breast lump, but whether it was God nudging me in the ear or my 50 years of nursing experience, somehow I stopped and said, I hope you're getting therapy. And she said, no, this is it. So I very quickly leaned forward and said, please come to see me. And thank goodness she did. When she came to see me, we had quite an emotional counseling time because this is an emotional subject for women. And I encouraged her to realize that God works through the medical profession. He works through the physician's hands to help the healing. And that seemed to encourage her to go on for the proper care.
They happened one by one. The different needs were met. And first, the crucial was the financial, which I could never have dreamed how it was going to happen at all. And in a sense, that was an answer to prayer.
I went again with her for the surgery to keep her calm, to pray with her. And then she had follow-up chemo, and as of this date, she's just doing fine.
Even though I was terribly reluctant to go through the physical part of it, I knew that I couldn't not do it, because this seemed to me a clear path that God had intervened and had answered my prayers. And even before that, I'd had a talk with a minister, and I said, I know God can heal me without all of this stuff. And I've read lots of accounts, and I believed it with all my heart. And the minister said, yes, but sometimes he uses people. And he uses doctors, and he uses nurses and technicians, and we have a physical body, and sometimes it has to be treated in physical ways, which was what I needed to hear. So this was an answer to prayer, too, for me to have peace with going through this process.
It's one thing for patients to believe in the healing power of prayer, but what about the medical establishment? Most doctors will never raise the issue with their patients, but a few are beginning to see a valid role for prayer within the art of healing.
Rarely do patients ever ask me to pray for them, and I think that is because they've never had that experience before.
Before Dr. Paul Wagner entered medicine, he trained to become a minister and now often prays for his patients.
They're not used to a physician praying for them. For me, it comes naturally to me because of my background and my pursuit of the ministry. There's been some interesting studies that have been done, one in particular in Texas by a cardiologist, and he studied 2 different groups of patients in the intensive care units. And he showed that those patients that were prayed for got well faster and had less complications frequently associated with intensive care unit patients than those that were not prayed for. And once reading that, I began to realize not only the power of prayer, but my responsibility to pray for my patients. I believe it is our responsibility as intercessors, as people who pray, as the believing community, to lay hands on those who are sick and stand in that posture of faith.
I don't believe God really wants us to be ill. The way I came to terms with it was that my soul had lessons to learn that I couldn't learn any other way.
You can be terminally ill, you can be dying, but you can be healed. You can be healed of a relationship that has gone wrong. You can be healed with your relationship with God. You're not going to be cured, but you can be healed and find the peace within yourself.
We need to be more willing to pray and believe for our patients and be more vocal in our community and be willing to stand up in the midst of criticism from our colleagues, no matter what that may be, and embrace the truth.
While the power of prayer to heal is still a very controversial subject in the medical profession, there's growing evidence that spiritual practices can help prevent illnesses in the first place. Dr. John Martin, a former professor of psychology at San Diego State University, has studied the effects of prayer on health, especially for disease prevention.
Prayer is associated with decreased healthcare costs across the board. It's a very robust effect with reduced incidence and prevalence of heart disease, cancer, high blood pressure. It's been said that 20 years ago we were just discovering the importance of social support in health. And we're now probably at that place with spiritual and religious factors. Last year we were invited into New Creation Church here, where you see the exercise going on. And we jumped at the opportunity. We brought all our exercise equipment that you see here over, and we've been here for about a year. We just recently have started a research study in which we are comparing behavioral interventions for diet and exercise to reduce weight, to lower blood pressure, to improve diabetic control in the mainly African American participants. Our hypothesis is that people who engage in more religious and spiritual practices, such as prayer, religious service attendance, meditation, and even following some of the biblical proscriptions and prescriptions, they will have significantly better health outcomes. I think we'll see in the next 10 years a compartmentalizing of which spiritual practices, which religious denominations and directions seem to be the most beneficial for health.
In spite of the fact that most people know obesity is linked to diabetes and heart disease, as well as some cancers, obviously people of faith are not immune to this problem.
There are a lot of Americans overweight, and I think people are overweight for different reasons.
Dana Dimitri is a registered nurse turned lifestyle coach who helps people achieve their very best physically and spiritually.
Some are simply overweight because they don't move enough. If you look back to the turn of the century, the average American woman probably burned about 2,400 calories a day. Today she burns about 1,700. That's purely an activity issue. If you think about your body like a car, it's really your only vehicle for life. It's the only one you're going to have. You can trade in your car, but you can't trade in your body. So in reality, we really need to treat it in a way that we can have the highest energy, the best health and fitness, so we really can have high quality life. People want to change overnight, and I understand it because I did too. But in reality, God is more concerned about our character. If we're doing things for the wrong reason, if we are trying to change our bodies just for ourselves or just to please our husbands or society, it's very empty. We really have to connect the reason for change, not only for ourselves and for our health and how we feel, but with pleasing God.
Dana is very critical of the multi-billion-dollar diet industry. Her own approach to food uses gradual, measurable techniques to reduce food consumption and increase calorie-burning physical activity.
My challenge with the diet industry is just that there's so much hype. I think we all have struggled. I've struggled. I come out of a background at 16, I was bulimic and remained bulimic for about 16 years, struggled with compulsive overeating. So I speak not as a professional who's just always had a handle on this area of my life, but as a woman who really knows what it feels like to be out of control and to look for answers. And so with the diet industry, what we find is there's so many quick fixes. You hear products called things like exercise in a bottle and fat in and fat out and fat absorb this and that. And the reality is there is not a pill out there that can solve our problem. If you really want to look what counts, it's calories in versus calories out. And I do not propose that people become chronic obsessive calorie counters, but we do need to get aware of what we're doing. And the more we burn, the more calories we burn, and the less we eat, the more inclined we are to lose some body fat. But there is no magic way to do that. It's literally slow little changes over time. A real good example that I think helps people is that if I could simply get a woman to maybe move an extra 200 calories a day, for an average woman that's maybe walking 2 miles, and eat 200 calories less a day. That might be cut one cookie out of your diet. That's a difference of 400 calories a day. In a year, that's about 40 pounds. That's a lifestyle change. That's a very simple thing that a person can do, and they think, well, I'd like to lose that 10 pounds in 2 weeks. Not gonna happen. But if you do the little things consistently, it adds up.
Have you ever been sick and wanted your doctor to pray for you? According to Paul Sims, Executive Director of Comprehensive Health Center in San Diego, 75% of people recently surveyed said, yes, they want their doctor to pray with them. Hello, I'm Art Cribbs, pastor of Christian Fellowship United Church of Christ in San Diego and president of Pacific Media Ministry. It may surprise you that so many sick people want their doctors to pray for them. In fact, it may even surprise some doctors. But more and more health professionals are making the connection between faith and healing. Just as diet and exercise have been identified as significant factors regarding our health, many physicians are adding faith and prayer. Throughout the world, and especially in traditional societies, there is a high recognition of a relationship between health and faith. Many Christians believe Jesus used the power of prayer and faith to heal the sick, give sight to the blind, and even resurrect the dead. Put another way, the power of a positive attitude and belief that the body can heal itself when a person infuses deep practices of faith can reverse severe and even terminal illness. Of course, that doesn't always mean the sickness will go away. Rather, faith can change our attitude and alter our behavior in such a profound way so as to allow healing to take place and make living more meaningful and fulfilling. Our health is our greatest asset. Learning to live fully, regardless of our physical, emotional, and mental state of health, is perhaps a true gift of faith.
There is so much hype today created by the diet industry that it can be hard to know what eating right means. So here to help us shatter some of the diet myths and give us healthy eating principles is registered dietitian and corporate nutritionist for Henry's Marketplace in San Diego, Patty Milliken. Welcome, Patty.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Midpoint.
Great, I'm glad to be here.
What are some of those diet myths? I mean, it is easy to be confused today.
It really is. It really is. And I think it runs the gamut. Everything from, high protein. If you're eating carbs, then you're not going to lose weight or, in fact, gain weight. Then on the other side of it, it's be vegetarian, eat extremely low
Totally
fat.
carbs, right.
Exactly. And then there's probably even 3 or 4 where take these brand of supplements and you too will lose weight and you won't have to really worry about what you eat.
And I think oftentimes we get confused between what is healthy and what is like designed to lose weight, and people don't necessarily want
Exactly.
healthy, they just want a quick fix for weight loss.
Exactly. And you know, in all defense for people out there, it is tough because once the marketing arm gets in there, it gets really, they know how to play the emotions, and then pretty soon you're starting to look at all these dieting things and you're going, I guess I shouldn't listen to my body. I should eat this one particular way.
And when we do start eating, what do we need to be eating?
That's a good question. The most important thing for metabolism is actually water, surprisingly.
Wow.
I know, it's so interesting that, again, it sounds so boring, but great amount of studies that say by just increasing your water, when you're beginning to cut calories, you actually keep that metabolism the same because you're helping to flush out the waste products. It helps your energy because you have good blood flow to your brain and down to your toes. So the amount of water, surprisingly, is about 1/2 cup to a cup every hour that you're awake.
Wow.
It's truly the guidelines you need for metabolism.
Wow. Good. What else? Okay, we're
so we talked about
now.
water, and then the 2 areas that when you look around the world at the different kinds of diets, if you will, that people eat, we tend in America to have kind of cut back on a couple. One is whole grains. And again, I feel like everyone hears that, but maybe I can put a little bit of a different spin on it. When I mean whole grains, it's like different kinds of rice, brown rice, wild rice. It's also whole wheat. It's using some type of fiber like flax, which interestingly enough is one of the first foods in the Bible mentioned.
Yes.
Quinoa, and then also like a vegetable type pasta that has a little bit more nutrition
As
to
opposed
it.
to just
Refined.
white flour. Yeah.
Exactly. And what they're showing now are that these foods are actually steadying the blood sugar, because that's a big thing when you're trying to lose weight too.
Right, not to ride the roller coaster of your insulin.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And so by steadying blood sugar, you burn fat better, but you also need some particular minerals to help your muscles handle really that extra if you're beginning a workout or whatever. And it turns out that packaged in these whole foods are those wonderful minerals too that kind of provide that balance. But the second area, which may fool a lot of people, is they're showing that having proper healthy fats in the diet actually causes you to lose weight.
No.
I know.
Fats. Putting fat back in the diet. We can't do that.
4-letter word. But it turns out the healthy fats are the fats in walnuts, pumpkin seeds.
Pumpkin seeds?
Yes, pecans.
People,
And
you
almonds.
throw out pumpkin seeds. You carve the
I
pumpkin and you throw
know.
that away, and
I
you can eat
know.
those?
Yes. They're now again showing that what happens is when you have taken in a lot of the processed fats, let's say, just over a lifetime, your little cells fill up with those and you don't get good communication between your cells. And what happens is, one is you don't have as many good hormones traveling between your cells, so even mind-body connection. Great study on hyperactivity in kids in this, that they improve by changing the fats because of that communication. But dieting...
So you want to eat the right fat and then say, talk amongst yourselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
Get that communication going.
Well, yeah, bring together a bunch of your friends, have the good fat, good communication. There you go.
Good.
But it turns out that with these kinds of oils and fats, they really help the whole body run better. And one of the afterthoughts is your body will give up the icky fats in the form in the favor of good healthy fats that stay around in your cells.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's kind of fun. Sunflower seeds also. We really should throw those in.
Okay.
Those
they're
can
good,
be included
good fats.
as good fats as well.
Yeah, and
Now-
that's true, because a woman picks up a little thing of sunflower seeds and she thinks 15 grams of fat, you know, I can eat, you know, 4 Twinkies for that.
You're
But it
exactly
isn't the
right.
same, is it?
It's not, because one is you, again, get that wrapped up with all the vitamins and minerals that help your body do metabolism, and a protein level that's quite high in nuts as well. And the last one is, if you're thinking dieting or that you want to lose weight, concentrate on what to include in your diet versus what to take away. And one of the things that I like to talk about is kind of the rainbow of foods. If you eat the colors of the rainbow every day, you're less likely to have room for some of those goodies, and your desire will go down because you'll get natural sweets in the fruits and vegetables. So if you do it that way, then you're really talking about eating something red, orange, yellow, and green.
Wow.
And you know, really, if you think about it, like yesterday, what you did. We often leave out big gaps of those foods.
Oh, it's true.
You know,
it's true.
so it can be kind of a fun way to shop, because it's like, instead of dieting, you know, oh, I better stay away from that. I better stay. You're like, I better load up with red foods and orange foods. It's again kind of a mind switch in your mind.
Yes, and again, orange is not Cheetos. It's like orange peppers,
Okay, you'd have to
carrots.
go that
Okay, I'm thinking orange. I know exactly.
No, you're right. We want to make sure that
it's
you know,
naturally orange.
exactly right.
Okay.
And they also say, you know, you shop in a grocery store, the perimeter, dash in and out of the aisles.
Yeah.
Because if you think of the perimeter of a grocery store, you're more likely to have your home filled with foods that are a little bit better for you, and you're less likely to get a lot of the junk kinds of foods.
That's great. That's great.
We are vessels of healing. We are not truly the healers in the true sense of the word, you know. We water, we sow, but the growth, you know, is bestowed upon us by God. Similarly, with healing, we have these modalities by which we treat, but my perspective is healing comes from God.